so in those years, and even when I was younger, I dealt with a lot of his rage. And I didn't realize until I was older and dealt with my own, the similarities we had in like blacking out and not really knowing what you're saying. Mm-hmm. And that was a huge impact because I thought everything he said, he fully meant. Mm-hmm. And so I took those scars and was like, if my own dad thinks these things of me, then every other man or person is going to think them.
Hey, Shy.
Hey, Cheree.
Thank you for coming today. I am so excited to have you on the second episode of Hope to Hustle. I'm really honored to have you and share your story. The whole purpose of this podcast is really to share stories of uncut gems. And to me, what that is we all have a backstory and we all have different walks of life, and we've all had struggles. We've had wins. We have things that can inspire others, things that could have broken us that we've turned into who we are today. And I'm hoping after our conversation, we're able to touch other women and other listeners who can relate and are going through similar things that maybe you've gone through or I've gone through, and together we can make a difference. Everybody, I'd like to welcome Shy. She's been a good friend of mine for many years, and she has a phenomenal story and is very inspirational with everything that she does in her personal life as well as her business, and I'm excited to share more. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I'm so excited.
Yes. So I want to there's you do so many different things that I can touch on that inspire me. But I'd really like to get into the backstory. I feel it's really important for people to understand and get to know somebody of where it kind of all started. So you are a hairstylist, a very well-known professional in your industry. How did you get into that?
I actually so I took auto all through high school, and I was like, I'm going to be a mechanic or I'm going to play soccer in college. And so those were my two goals, and I had nothing else on my mind. I got hurt in soccer, and so I had to stop playing my senior year. And once I figured out that I wasn't going to be able to get a scholarship or play, I was like, okay, on to the next, because I'm all about progress and how can I sustain a life and move out. And I heard hairstylist did well. And so I graduated high school early and enrolled in cosmetology school. And I actually fell in love with it. I've always been a creative, and that was an avenue that like opened up, and I loved connecting one-on-one with my clients, and it kind of just took off from there.
Wow. So, those are two totally different things, yeah. Working in auto body and cosmetology. Like as a kid, did you always have, an interest in both, and then you decided to try cosmetology, or were you fully committed to, like, what sparked your interest in cars?
I know, it's so weird. So I've always been very good with working on things with my hands, like attention span to like sitting in class, definitely not so much. But if it came to fixing things, I am really fast at it and good at it. And my dad and my uncle worked on stuff, and my dad would show me, and then I wanted my first truck, and my first truck came with problems because it was a used truck and I couldn't afford to get work done to it. And my parents had just gotten divorced, and I played soccer, so I didn't really work. So I was like, I'm going to go into auto and figure out how to fix my truck myself. And then I just fell in love with it. I love being capable and not depending on anyone. And so that was that as far as growing up working on things. And then I didn't think I was super girly because I was definitely a tomboy. I didn't remember doing my own hair. But then when I got older and I look back at pictures, I did the weirdest stuff to my hair. Like I would braid one side and then put one side in a bun. I had my mom cut like one side off and leave one side long. So I didn't know like at that time that I was into it, but I definitely was into being different and having a creative style.
I love that. So just to go back a little bit, how you said your parents had gotten divorced.
Yeah.
How old were you?
I was 12 when they separated, and then they tried to work it out for about a year, and then I was almost 14 when they actually got divorced.
I'm sure that took a bit of a toll.
Yeah.
At that age.
Oh yeah,
Teenager.
I turned into a angry, like I was wild. I punched walls like daily. I actually have tattoos covering all my knuckles just from how much I punched walls. And I did get in fights with girls or guys, but I just loved to hit a hard wall. It just had a nice little relief to it.
Yeah. And how did that last for a period of time? Do you feel it went hand in hand with like your age or?
So I got put into counseling because of my anger management. And that was about when I was 15, and I actually still see my same therapist.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's rare.
Yeah, right? I know. It's been 17. I'm going to be 33, 17.
Wow. Especially with adolescence, and that carry on through adulthood. I mean, that's awesome that you've felt comfortable with your therapist. Do you feel that helped a lot?
Yeah. I still use a lot of the tools she gave me then. One of them was that I'm just a real physical person. And so I had this release when I would punch the wall that we like translated into walking when I would get mad. And I only could communicate with people when I was walking. And she would have me channel like what I felt when I would punch a wall into my feet, releasing that energy and like emotion into the ground. And that helped me be able to have calm conversations with people and like work through conflict rather than flipping out and cussing someone out and punching a wall.
Yeah.
So it did help.
That's good. Yeah. That's crazy. I didn't even know that you had gone through that. And with therapy, were you able to get through the divorce? I mean, how were they through separation? Were they calm for your sake? Did they quickly move on, or they stay separated, for a while? You said they try to work it out and then they...
So it's a very interesting kind of situation. I'm very like an open book with stuff because I just feel like I never know who's going to need to hear certain things to draw like connection. But my mom she dated, she was off kind of doing her thing. My dad ended up in a relationship immediately with one of my Sunday school teachers. And that was a lot because I felt very on display for the whole church. And it was, it's a community. I don't want to say it's more gossipy than any other community. I think when you're just in that type of environment, people talk. And so that was part of my anger, was that my whole family was kind of on display in this negative light. And so my mom and me left that church, and my dad still goes there. And his kind of development through that was really difficult. He also struggles with anger, and I think I picked up a lot of his tendencies through just like learned behavior. And so in those years, and even when I was younger, I dealt with a lot of his rage, and I didn't realize until I was older and dealt with my own, the similarities we had in like blacking out and not really knowing what you're saying. And that was a huge impact because I thought everything he said he fully meant. And so I took those scars and was like, if my own dad thinks these things of me, then every other man or person is going to think them. And it wasn't until I was in my first marriage. And
how old were you when you first got married?
I just turned 21.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you were still a baby.
I was a baby. I'm like mind blown now when I look at 20. My stepson's 20, just turned 22. And I'm like, I would never imagine him to be married.
Right.
Living in another state. Like, it's just wild.
And how was that relationship? Do you feel it was healthy, or do you feel you were taking characteristics and traits and that kind of flowed into your relationship?
I think that relationship is a little bit of everything, a little bit toxic. It had a little bit of positive like growth. It was a very weird situation of how we came together. He didn't really propose. We didn't have this like long drawn out love. And I don't even know how I would describe it other than it felt very, I guess like my duty or what I owed God, just because that was kind of put on me. And I felt a little bit manipulated, but at that point I didn't know. I just felt bad about things I had done. And I had a lot of guilt and shame for situations I had put myself in my early like adult years. And so my way of, cleaning my slate was honoring this marriage. And I appreciate that marriage and I appreciate him because my relationship with God and my faith grew so much. There was a lot of very toxic things that went on in that relationship. But if I was to say one positive, that he did make sure my relationship with God was like on point and came first. But
was he really religious too?
Yeah.
Okay. So it was toxic in a sense of like both of you guys, or more so things that you dealt with in the marriage?
I think it was, so when I was in the marriage, I definitely put all the blame on him. I think that's a natural thing when you're younger and you kind of learn as you get older what your parts are in everything. Mm-hmm. And so when I was definitely in it, I thought it was him. He was an addict. He did suffer back and forth with being sober and getting back onto stuff. And I had no idea how to really handle it. And I didn't have outside help. But in the same space, I wasn't mature enough emotionally to be the best support system for him. I definitely tried. And then when I got pushed to my breaking point, I would resort back to who I was in high school and it would turn physical. Mm-hmm. My safety has always been, for some reason, violence. Mm-hmm. If I get pushed enough and triggered, that's where I went. And so he had his toxic contributions and so did I.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's a hard thing to go through, especially if, at that age and, you're not struggling with addiction, but you are in a relationship with somebody that is struggling. Do you feel that it was, okay, you need help, I'm recognizing there's an issue here, or more so turning the eye away from it? Did you guys, you know what I mean? I feel like addiction, and I don't know what it is that he was struggling with, but it can go, especially in a young love situation, it can go two ways. It's, you are struggling, you need help, our issues in our marriage is because of that, or I have my own issues as well, we have a lot of toxic traits, I'm going to kind of, turn an eye and don't really pay attention to what's going on here.
Yeah, I think that I went through both phases. I think the first time I really realized like there's something definitely wrong, I reached out for help, and the people that I reached out to kind of just were like, oh yeah, it is what it is. That's just him. And it like broke my heart for him that no one was willing to step in or help. Mm-hmm. And a lot of the stuff that he had told me while he was sober about how he had to get sober on his own, I had to watch it again, and it was really heartbreaking to see. So I did try to help. I never firsthand saw anyone help him, ever. It was always him trying to figure it out on his own. We did have a good couple that supported us while we lived in another state, and that man had also been an addict, and he helped where he could as far as like emotional support and being a friend. But I think there's so much more that goes into it that you can't just put that on one person to be available all the time when you need them.
Mm-hmm. Is the addiction what kind of ended your guys' marriage, or more just growing apart?
I think it was, there was a lot of physical stuff that would happen when he was having issues. And I didn't always, because I didn't struggle with that, I wasn't good at seeing for sure, like, are you actually using something or not? And I went through all this stuff when he was moving out and we had separated, and I found a lot of evidence, but I had never gone through any of his stuff before to find it. But him sober and him using were two completely different people. Mm-hmm. And I realized that with other addicts in my life. And I think that's what's always made it so hard for me, is I have such a soft spot for their heart when they're sober, because you see them and they're some of the sweetest, most mm-hmm. kind people I've ever met in my life. So when they make that switch and they're a completely different person, it's confusing for me to watch and to know how to help them and like when to help myself. And mm-hmm. that was kind of how we ended.
And that's what's hard is, when you're dealing with someone that you love that's struggling with substance abuse and addiction, is having those healthy boundaries for yourself. How much do I continue to help and push for this person, and when do I draw the line for myself where now it's becoming unhealthy for me? And you said you deal with addiction in your life. Was that before your marriage or after? Or?
It was before and it was after. It was family members that I grew up with, and that was hard because when I was younger watching it, it was sad because mm-hmm. You want to help and you don't understand. And then after living with a significant other and having like the physical bursts that come with it, and I moved back into that, I didn't realize how much more damaging it was to get out of one house that I was pretty much fighting for my life at points into another one. Mm-hmm. And I think what makes it harder is that my parents in that house didn't believe what I said. And it was even more frustrating because I'm like, I just got out of this. Like, if anyone knows what's going on, like, it's me. And I just got brushed off and shut down. And
when you would bring it to their attention, like, did you have siblings or who?
Yeah.
Okay.
It was, siblings.
Are they older or younger than you?
Well, they're younger. Yeah, like two years younger than me, and then 2 years younger than that one.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay. So when you were in a relationship with an addict, kind of knew the signs of when somebody's struggling, and then saw it in your siblings.
Yeah.
And would try to bring that up to your parents.
Yeah. And it was hard. I hadn't had a house that felt like a safe space or a sanctuary, so I really didn't know that was what I needed. But I went from coming home to like an unsafe environment, unsafe things going on, to moving in with my parents thinking I'm going to be safe, I'm going to be able to recover here, to, guys coming in with drugs and guns, and my parents being like, no, what?
Nothing's happening.
And I'm
right.
And I'd go upstairs because I'm a very I don't want to engage in drama or overstep, but I'm also not going to play dumb. And so I would go and I would look and I would take whatever inventory I needed to understand what was going on. And I just got shut down. And then one day I was in the wrong place at the wrong time with one of them, pissed them off, and they, grabbed me by my neck and pushed me over the balcony. And one of the friends pistol whipped him to get him off.
Oh my gosh.
And then the next day everyone was like, why do you have bruises on your neck? And when I told everyone, it was silence. Everyone just left the room. There was no acknowledgement. And then one of my family members was like, oh, you should have kicked his ass.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, yeah.
So a lot of denial.
Yeah. I'm like, yes, as I'm being held over a balcony, I should have tried to fight someone who's...
No, we shouldn't get them help. I'm just supposed to just fight them back. And does anyone know now that there's a serious problem here in our house?
Yes.
Jeez. And that wasn't even an eye-opener then?
No.
With that, wow.
No. So I had to get really clear on boundaries once I realized that those weren't going to be put in place in my house.
Yeah.
So once I was able to move out and live on my own, I gained a lot of healing when I like actually experienced what it's like to live in a safe environment and a safe space.
And what is the healing? What does that like look like for you? I know you have a lot of different things that you do that are awesome, a lot of discipline. So I'd love to hear like what did it start then? Everything that you do now for yourself, is that kind of where it all started?
It started really slowly. So when I moved out of my parents' house, my stepdad was the one who actually pushed me to move. I had actually quit doing hair right before I got divorced because my ex-husband was like, I want you just to support me. You can't do two things at once. And so I quit. I lost all my clients and I had to rebuild. And that's why I moved in with my parents at that time. And I was there for about, I want to say like 6 months or so. And my stepdad was like, you need to get out. And he helped me by doing business coaching with me. He's really successful at his career. And so we met once a week and he pushed me, but he also taught me how to be really disciplined when it came to my career. And through the discipline that it took me to get out, because I was so focused on building my career, then I learned how to implement that into my personal life and my routines and my habits. And that's how I found a lot of success and healing.
How old were you when you started your business?
So I started when I was 23, and then I quit when I was 24 when I was with him. And then I picked it back up right before I turned 25.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so now you have one salon?
Yes.
Working on possibly two?
Possibly. There's always something.
Yes, that's awesome. And so what are some of, I mean, business is business, right? It comes with the ups and the downs. What are some of the things that you feel has been a lot of trial through the process of owning a business?
I would say I've had the most personal self-growth having to lead other people. Mm. And I think that that's been something I've felt my entire life where I feel like I finally got it and I'm like, I'm good. I'm like at the top of whatever I need to do. I have all my routines down. And then all of a sudden I find myself really not confused, but I'm such a positive person. As soon as I start feeling pessimistic or I hear myself complaining, I know something's wrong. And that was happening a lot when I first brought on my team. And for so long, I was like, oh, it's something, with them or having all these people around me. It's because I'm an introvert. So having a full salon with clients and stylists, I was like, that has to be why. And then I had to really sit with it. And I did a lot of journaling and a lot of work and figured out that it was just more growth that I needed to do on my end. So there's a lot of trials with having just people and even just like working with the city and other things like that. Mm-hmm. But I would say the most for me came with having to like look myself in the, mirror every day and realize how I was not showing up for the girls in my salon.
And with your history of anger,
yeah,
your salon doesn't have any holes or anything, right?
No, luckily I've never hit a wall in there.
That's good. You're like, I save it for when I get home.
Yeah.
Because it can get frustrating and it can be overwhelming. And, if the electricity goes out or,
had that happen.
You've had that?
Had that happen.
What do you do when you have girls in foils and hair dye?
This year, weirdly, we had it happen a few times. It was just the weather the first few times. And then something happened with our circuits and I was just about to get to the salon and my assistant called and she's like, we don't have power. And I got there and I got on the phone with PG&E. I was like, you have to start doing my clients. I called my husband. Thank God he was there in like 2 minutes. He's very good about helping me. And so he was trying to fix things. I was on the phone with my electrician. We got it fixed in an hour. But it is something that adds to my stress levels when I think I'm just going to walk in and have an easy day and I'm going to connect with my clients. And then I have clients that are pissed because they have cold water, and stylists that are pissed because they can't see what they're doing. And it's a lot that I take on, and then a lot that I have to learn how to like let go of and release to keep my sanity.
Yeah, and stay calm for everybody else.
Yeah.
Because they're looking at you like,
Yes.
what's the solution?
Yes.
What are we all supposed to do? And you're sitting there trying to figure it out yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's hard. That's really different. That's the hard. Leadership is really hard in business, I feel. You know, when you have a team that is depending on you for certain answers sometimes is difficult. You know, I know when, same thing. It's like I have to go to the gym first thing in the morning at a ridiculous hour, I feel, you know. I would like to go at like 8 or 9 o'clock. But I catch myself moving it earlier because I don't know what my day is going to consist of. And when you have a business, you walk in and you love to have a smooth, chill day. But if something happens, you can have a wonderful management team, but at the end of the day, it falls on you. And it's like, okay, what are we going to do in this situation? And patience and being able to stay calm in those situations is really, really hard, you know. And for me, that's been a big thing, is really being able to just breathe and not let my emotions take over and wear them on my sleeve. Even though I want to pull my hair out, I can't, you know. I have to stay calm and, okay, well, we're going to do this and we're going to do that. But that's taken time. I mean, that's taken years for me to be able to handle those situations in a professional manner. I like to say sometimes, like, I'm proud of myself for that. You know, I really wanted to scream and freak out, maybe cuss a little bit, but you know, I handled that pretty well. So I could imagine in a salon where, you're having a lot of clients who may be upset. They're not getting their way and, you know, want this and want that. I mean, that's no matter what business you have, there's difficulties, you know, and finding balance for yourself. And I want to talk to you a little bit about that because I know you're really good at self-care, and I want to look at what that looks like a little bit more, because it's not always just another spa day. As much as I'd love to say self-care is all the spa days in the world, you know. I go get a massage twice a week. No, I wish. But what does that look like for you? Like having that equal balance between business and personal life. Like, how do you make sure that you're centered in that way?
So I have always woken up very early. I did that naturally growing up, so it works for me. It wasn't something that I had to like practice, but my mornings are the most important thing to me. When I moved in, you know, with my husband, I told him like 3 a.m. till I walk into work, like that is my time.
Wow, 3 a.m. I thought getting up at 4:40 was early. Yeah. So you get up at 3 every morning? That's crazy. Yeah.
He gets up too, which is nice. He's like an early bird, but I used to do that all through school. Wow. I would play sports and then I would go home, go to bed, and I'd wake up at 3 and I'd start my homework and do my homework until I had to go to school in the morning. And for me, part of it is just I feel truly able to connect with myself because it is just me. The world doesn't feel like it's up yet. Most people aren't awake. You can't go run errands. You can't do normal productive things that could fill your day. If you live with other people, you can't do laundry, you know, you can't make noise. So you truly have to like sit with yourself. And I have journaled very intentionally since I would say 27 was when I started. And that has been the most impactful thing in my life, in my emotional state. And so I start with that every morning. That's first thing, and it's a non-negotiable. And
do you ever run out of things to journal about?
No, and it's funny because I get more as time goes on. When I started, it was super hard. The first thing I did was I was like, I'm going to write 10 things I'm grateful for, because I was at that point in time, I was very just pessimistic and negative, and I read in a book, you know, be positive. And so it took me probably 3 days to find one thing to be positive for. That's how bad I was at it. And the thing that I found, I started walking around my house because I was like, I don't have anything. I hate everything. Everything sucks. And I walked by my laundry room and I had laundry going and I saw the detergent and I was like, oh, actually, I can write that. And everyone thinks that's the weirdest thing. But I'm like, to me, when I was younger, I associated like wealth and people having money with having the nice laundry detergent because we couldn't afford it.
Wow.
And so I never had scented like detergent. I remember going to friends' houses and I'd be like, what's that smell? And they'd be like, oh, my mom's doing laundry. And I'm like, what? It smells? And I would like go in the laundry room like a weirdo and smell it because I was just like, our stuff does not smell like this. And we didn't have a dryer. We hung it outside. So we didn't have dryer sheets. So I was like, wow, like I can afford gain. Like I've made it in life.
You're winning right there.
And that was the very first thing that I started with. And then it's progressed into I write 5 things I'm grateful for. And then I write out all my daily non-negotiables. And I write them out every day because it helps it always stay in like the forefront of my mind. Like I have to get these things done. So that's going to the gym, drinking a certain amount of water, eating a certain way, the way I speak to people, the way I carry myself, the kind of energy I put out, how I connect with my husband when I get home, all those things. And I've taken time to get down to what's important. And I write them out every day. And then I have a couple mantras that I pick. And I'll usually keep 2 mantras for a month. And I'll cycle and go through other ones. And my day starts like that. And then I'll read. And I'll either read a book or I turn on an Audible book. And I listen to a book on self-improvement from when I wake up until I go into work.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And how long is that of reading?
So after I do my journal, I'll probably turn the book on around like 3:45 and I'll play it until I go into work at 11 a.m.
Wow.
Yeah.
Now with journaling, I mean, that is just fascinating to me. I wish I can find more time, or I should find more time to try to do something like that. Do you ever just catch yourself rewriting the same thing maybe you just wrote 2 days ago? Or do you surprisingly actually have different things written down every day?
I usually have different things written down. There's a couple things that will repeat. One is like hearing birds in the morning. I grew up in the country here and I never appreciated it until I moved to Vegas. And I was like, there's no birds.
There's no birds.
There are no birds. And you don't hear it. And I missed that and I craved that. So when I moved back, that was the one thing that I just love every morning. And I think to like start your morning and just have one thing that like just a sound of it and like what it brings to your energy is really important. So that one I would say repeats. But for the most part, they change every day.
Wow. And it's almost like recognizing things that you wouldn't even think of unless you were searching for that.
Yeah.
You know, like I guess I wouldn't even think of birds unless you're sitting there in peace and quiet at that hour.
Yeah.
To be like, wow, actually, I'm really thankful to be able to hear the freedom of birds, you know, and that's very peaceful and therapeutic.
It is.
Too.
Yeah.
And then you read at 3:45 every morning.
Yeah.
Do you give yourself the weekend off? Or is this like 7 days a week type assignment?
So on the weekends, typically I don't because my husband's home. And so we've kind of agreed those are like our mornings together. So we still get up and go to the gym together. I still journal, but it's usually I'll do it in the evening. But I journal differently on the weekends. On the weekends, I audit how the week went prior.
Okay.
And so I'll write, how did my meals go? Did they like feel like they were really filling? Did I feel good? Do I feel like, you know, they're sustainable? Or did I feel like something made me bloated? Did it not make my workout go so well?
Because you're vegan, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how long have you been vegan for?
I have been vegan since I was 25, I think.
Wow.
Yeah. And that was a rough night out. That wasn't like people are always like, oh, now it's a very like, you know, empathetic, like animals and creatures. Cause I've done a lot of research on it, but it definitely didn't, I got roofied and
wow.
Yeah, I couldn't do food after that because I got so sick. But that was my last meal was that.
Oh my goodness. So after that, you're like, hey, no more.
Yeah. I was so sick for days and like weeks after that I just couldn't do it anymore. And that was like my perfect like turn off of meat. And so I've never, haven't touched anything since then. And
that's a lot. And health wise too, it's really good.
Yeah.
You know I've talked with you before about this, just how you feel, your overall mental health and the space that you carry when you're eating good. I mean, your routine's really strict, and I like totally admire you for that, because it's hard and it's not something that you can try overnight. And I know, like, speaking with you, you would give me all these great, vegan recipes, and like, hearing you talk about it, I'm like, I'm going to do this. I totally got this. And I'm like, hey, I lasted 2 days. Too hard. Yeah. But it makes a difference. And the routine of it is, I feel, since I've been working out in the gym daily, it's totally changed my mood, my mindset, the space to deal with things that are super stressful. Like if I don't work out in the morning, I feel like I can't handle chaos as well as if I gave myself that time.
Yeah.
And it's not so much just the working out, but it's the time for yourself. Like you said, you're unbothered. Nobody's calling your phone yet at that hour. The world isn't fully awake at that hour. And I'm realizing that it is time to just focus on me. The kids are all still asleep. No one's bothering me. And no matter what happens in my day, I knew that I gave myself that hour and a half.
Yeah.
Of just undivided attention to me, which took me many years to be able to do that. I feel like I lost myself for a while with food and not working out, that I was becoming miserable and uncomfortable, and getting into that routine was really hard. It was really hard. I mean, do you ever feel like you want to fall off, or you've just been in it, that it's comfortable and needed at this point?
So the vegan part, I've never felt like a struggle with that, or like I want to eat meat. That's always been super easy for me. But I will say that the fitness part of it, and the way I structure my meals, the way I work out, I feel like that is always changing. And I feel like that's something that'll change forever, because our routines, like our life isn't going to be the same in 6 months, and our mood isn't going to be the same in 6 months. And that's part of why I am so intentional about journaling and writing, so I can find ways that keep my fitness sustainable for where I'm at, like in the present time. And so I have gotten in shape, fallen off a little bit, gotten in shape, fallen off, like through the last decade. Mine, it's not as noticeably, like maybe physically, but I feel it. I feel I can gain a few pounds and just not feel myself, which sounds like vain, but it's like I just like to feel like I'm on my game all the time. And when I started back on my like journey of like, hey, I want this to be something that's sustainable for life, because I was a very much like balls to the wall, like all in, all out with everything I did. And it took me a really long time to realize like that is not sustainable. I would do the like, I'm going to lose all my weight in 6 to 8 weeks, and I'm going to look great, and it's going to last forever.
The great fad diet.
Right. Yeah. And I wasn't like conscious like that's what I was doing. I had a goal and I knew that, but I wasn't like consciously like, oh, I'm not making decisions that are going to like support sustainability. And so once I changed my outlook to how can I make this sustainable, that was when like my success like long term came with it, because I was able to be like, I'm going to take a really small step this week, and I'm going to just like micro tweak my workout. And once I did that and I focused on getting 1% better every day, I don't even keep stuff the same. It's always, how do I get like 1% better today, this week? And that's been able to help me maintain it, because I'm, one, excited about doing something different, and then two, I see the 1% like results, and that I think definitely fuels my ambition to keep going.
Yeah, and I feel like that's what's hard. I feel like the fad diets are a real thing. I'm guilty of it myself. Yeah. Is we all want that quick fix. Yeah. And oh wow, all you have to do is mix that protein shake and have one of those for 12 weeks and you lose X amount. But I like what you said with just that 1%, because that's hard, I feel, for a lot of girls out there, is especially to like social media. It's like they're looking and comparing themselves to what other people look like and how they're doing it. So fad diets are very popular, but they're also very unhealthy and unrealistic. I mean, would you agree, or do you feel like, I mean, temporarily they may work too. But it's hard. I mean, what advice do you have for girls who really want to get more in tune with their bodies and their health and wellness? Like, what advice do you have? Do you feel like it's the physical part of working out and looking for 1%, or do you feel it's a combination of everything from reading or journaling and working out? I mean, I know you meal prep too, right? Do you do that between your 3 a.m.
I do. I do. I think everything really ties in together. And I think having the discipline to journal, and I don't spend a whole lot of time. When I first started, it was longer. Now it's, I get it done in 10 minutes. But I think that the importance of it and where it ties into like health and fitness and getting in shape is I'm constantly connected and aware of like what I need, like in the present day or week that I'm in. And when you write stuff down, you really look at it and you're like, okay, yeah, this is realistic, or no, it's not. And so girls that I know that want to get in shape, I think the biggest issue that I even did was like, okay, starting tomorrow, I'm not going to eat any of this. I'm going to eat super clean. I'm going to follow my meal plan. I'm going to work out twice a day, and I'm in a sauna, and I'm going to go in ice baths. And it's like, okay, well, let's like logically think about how much time and effort and energy you're going to have to pull together to get through one day.
Right.
And now you want to do that every day.
Right.
And so I think that people finding one thing that feels the best to them to start is like the 1%. So if you're like, I don't really want to change the way I eat, that sounds really stressful and like restrictive. Okay, well then what kind of physical activity would make you excited to start? And maybe that's going for a hike or yoga. And then start really small. So I'm not going to go for a 10-mile hike or a 2-hour hike. Just like I'm going to go hike for 20 minutes. Because to me, that's really sustainable. Everyone has 20 minutes. You're not going to crazy burn out your muscles and fatigue your body within 10 to 20 minutes, and build off that. And so I did actual check boxes of I'm going to do cardio for 20 minutes, 5 days a week for a month. And then next month I'll increase it to 25 minutes. And I slowly built, and I did that with my entire fitness and all my food. I didn't even touch my nutrition for, I want to say like 6 months. Because I just was like, I don't want to overwhelm my mind.
Right. Baby steps.
Yeah.
Which is hard because it's like the addict in me. I'm like, full force right now, today, this second.
And that's how I am.
But it's hard. And it's like, I need that instant satisfaction. And then it's that instant disappointment that I wasn't able to do. It happens for one day. And then I'm like, forget this. The energy was way too much to be able to sustain that long term. So it's piece by piece by piece. Shy, are you writing a book?
Yes. Yeah.
I love it. I love it. If you don't mind sharing just a little bit about it, or what's your goal with this book, and who's your audience?
So it's pretty much about this and how to break down your daily routine into manageable and sustainable habits that facilitate you to be able to achieve whatever your goals are. And I really want it to pretty much reach anyone. I mean, definitely females, but people that aren't really sure what their goals are. I think the biggest thing is we all not so much come with envy, but you see what someone else has and you're like, I want that. And in the book, I really break down like, why do you want it? Do you actually want that? What are you looking for? And then how to achieve it. And it starts with really small daily habits, and then it builds. And I'm really big on, if you start small, you can achieve it. And then that builds your confidence, and it goes hand in hand. And then you can go and take on something else. And so my like biggest goal is for everyone to like live every day as like happy and fulfilled and with as much joy and peace as they can, given like the world that we live in, but within what we can control and manifest for ourselves. I just would love to see people more fulfilled in like what their light is.
I love that. When can we expect to get our hands on this? amazing book.
It's going to be out the first week of December.
Ooh,
yeah.
Christmas time. Perfect.
Yeah.
So anybody who needs that gift for Christmas can look out for your book. And how could anybody who is listening or watching find you and stay tuned for this book and the announcement of that?
Instagram is the best. I'm at sheycaspary.hair. And I'm going to be releasing like updates with the book and all that, like in the next kind of few weeks and month, and do little teasers on that.
Perfect. That's exciting. Well, I am so thankful to have you here today. I've personally learned a lot, and hopefully I can start writing some small goals down each morning for my day and some gratitude. And I hope that those listening are able to gain something from this as well. You're so inspiring. You're a beautiful, beautiful girl. You've come so far through so many different things, and I'm so proud of you. Thank you.